Hey everybody! Happy Sunday! It's Ashley here from Lovely Commotion. I want to thank you for joining me. Today we're going rocking into outer space. So I have 5 preschool space activities for you that I wanted to share today. So if you do a space theme in your classroom, I'm hoping to share something brand new with you. Or something maybe you had seen before and you thought, oh, I should try that again. So I've got 5 of those today. And when we talk about space, I know it's not incredibly relatable, right? Like we can't get in a school bus and go to space, at least not yet. Mrs. Frizzle has not come up with that quite yet, but it certainly would be fun. So it's not one of those things that children can go and touch and explore themselves. And so it becomes one of those themes where maybe it's a touch off of what they can actually experience. But I think when it comes to space, children are fascinated with it, and adults alike, really, because of how mysterious it is and how we can kind of see parts of it here from Earth. We can see the moon, we can see the stars. If we have a great telescope, we maybe can even see some of the other planets. And so it becomes engaging because there's a little bit of mystery, some fascination with it, and just bringing some of that other world to us. Plus, in Missouri, it's part of our standards to kind of have them just asking questions and wondering about space, outer space. So that is what we had been doing in our classroom. I found this awesome little rocket ship. It's not too little. It's actually like a tent. We have Aldi stores went near us, and they had those for pretty cheap. And so made a spaceship in the Dramatic Play Center, and we had some fun space things in the Science Center, one of my newer science units. And so we were really getting involved in space, and I like to also bring that into my small group and my whole group. So I want to show you a couple activities today that maybe you'll be able to take from too. So first up, super fun one that you know they're gonna love is some Play-Doh, and this is Galaxy Play-Doh because it has some glitter in it as well. I love making Play-Doh. You can see the recipe on the screen. I'm hoping it's close enough up there for you so you can see it, but this recipe I love because it's super easy to make. I just put 2 cups of flour in a saucepan, and then I add my cup of salt, I add my tablespoon cream of tartar, mix that all up, all those dry ingredients. Then I go in ahead, add my tablespoon of cooking oil and my 2 cups of water, and then any coloring that I want. So for this is black, and I generally use my cake decorating stuff. Like I sometimes decorate cookies, so I'll use like my Wilton cake because it's pretty hard to make black with just your standard, drop out of the bottle food coloring. And then basically you just put that over medium to high heat, and you just keep stirring it until a ball forms. And then you just plop it out of there. I put it on some wax paper and I let it cool, and then I knead it, and then you can add in glitter and things like that. And it's just super easy. But sometimes I'm short on time and do not have time to go through the whole Play-Doh making process. So I also will sometimes pull out Play-Doh. Luckily I had some black, and I just take that and I literally just sprinkle it on and knead it in, and it works fantastic too. So even though I love homemade Play-Doh, it doesn't always fit in my time frame of getting it finished. So just know that it works great to knead. I don't know if you can see it kind of sparkling. Need some glitter into Play-Doh works really great too. So that one's always a fun one. Obviously, just a new set of Play-Doh brings them wanting to come over and explore it and try it out, which is great because then they start using those fine motor muscles, and you can provide scissors, you could provide circle cutters, like biscuit cutters of different sizes would be fabulous because they can make different planets out of them, stars, lots of different cookie cutter ideas you could definitely do. You could even have them do their names in this. They could write it with a stick, or if you have those stamper letters, we have those Play-Doh stamping letters. That would be fun too. Write your name in the galaxy, things like that. So that is number 1. And if you've never made Play-Doh before and you do have a little bit of time, I encourage you to try it. It is so super easy, and it's lovely because it has a little bit of a different texture and definitely a different smell than your store-bought Play-Doh. So just make sure to keep it in like a bag or something with a lid so that it's airtight, because it will dry out and it does not last as long as the Play-Doh and things like that, but it's fun for every once in a while. So that is the first one. Another activity that we like to do is make straw rockets. And so this is super fun because I can tie in some math with measurement, and we can also tie in some problem solving and like testing out what's going to work, so making some predictions and things like that. So to make a straw rocket, I have just already like these just little rocket cutouts, and I generally just cut them out for them because this is not, cutting is not my goal here. So I just have those ready, and then we assemble our rockets. And one way you can do it is you can use a pipette and you can cut off the bottom of the pipette and tape it to the back of the rocket. But if you don't have pipettes around, you can definitely just use paper, which I've done here. And basically what you're wanting to do is seal it on 3 sides. So I've got tape here, tape on the top, and tape over here, and leave only one open. And that is where your straw will go. But making sure you just have a little opening here for your straw. And then make sure every kiddo has their own straw because, you know, germs. So basically I will write their initials or something on their straw and maybe on their rocket too, if they haven't kind of made it to where they can recognize it. A lot of times they'll want to add some color to it. And then they just put their straw into the back of the rocket. And I like the bendy straws because then they can bend up right up to their mouth, and they blow and we fly it. And then we can experiment with, if I make my straw go straight up, where does my rocket fly? If I push my straw farther down, where does my rocket fly? And then we can also talk about how far did our rockets fly? Whose rocket flew the furthest? And we can get out the measuring tape and we can measure how far they flew. So just lots of fun things there and lots of problem solving. And sometimes they'll start to use their rocket and put their straw in, and they've shoved it up there really far and it's not working as well. So what do we have to do? How can we problem solve and make our rocket ship fly again? And so there's just lots of moving great parts in there that I love to do this activity because it just encompasses so much great critical thinking skills and problem solving, some making hypotheses, couldn't get the word out, making some hypotheses of where it will fly based on the angle of our straw, and then of course measurement too. So lots of great fun things to do with that. Another one we like to do is play the blast off game, and I love games in our classroom so much. And this one is a 2-player game, and once you teach it to them, they really get the gist of it and they can play it, and you can just add different themes into them. So like this one is one child is the rocket ship and the other one is the space shuttle, right? So they get to pick, and their goal is to make it to the moon. And so they're starting on their rocket ship, spaceship, whatever you want to call it, and they each have their own movers and they each have their own path. And so they take turns rolling the dice, moving that many. And so they're going to go up and then over and then down. So they have the same exact ending spot. Now this is definitely one of those games where there is a winner and there is a loser. And so I always like to teach my kiddos, it's not about who won and lost. It's about us practicing counting, and it's about us comparing and working together. And so I always like to encourage them to make sure both people playing make it to the moon before they get up and leave or move on to something else, because then it feels like it's more complete, and we just don't focus on winning as much as we focus on learning, because that's why we play the game, is to learn, and it's fun to learn through games. So I talk about that a lot, and they do catch on to it, and they do become more gracious winners because of it, because they don't make a big deal about them being the winner, because we all are winning. And I tell them we all are winning because our brains are learning new things and they're practicing new things. So that's how I approach games in my classroom. But this one is a great fun one. And then I usually, after I play with them in small group, I can go put this into the math center and they can play it by themselves, and they love it. They go over there because there's a different outcome every time, so that's a fun thing for kids because it will not end the same way every time. So they love that game. So that's a fun one, and you could so easily make this one very easily, just drawing squares right around your board, and off you go. Another thing we like to do, I like to do this a whole group, is anytime I can fit in some movement. And so I have these space movement cards. These are fun because it gets them moving in ways that maybe I wouldn't traditionally think of. We're always hopping like a frog or a bunny, galloping like a horse. But when you add in a different theme, it kind of pushes that. So one that I like is line up like the planets. Normally we work on lining up front to back. So this time we were going to line up with our shoulders next to each other. So that was a little bit different for them. Leaping, that's not something we do a lot, but I got to show them how to leap, and they can leap like a comet. And another one is twinkle like a star. So you can kind of decide how you want this to look. Sometimes I'll ask them, what do you think if a star was twinkling? What would that look like with our bodies? And sometimes they come up with their own things. Sometimes it's just our fingers, right? So that one is definitely left up to interpretation. Bounce like an astronaut. And we talk about how they're bouncing because they don't have any gravity, so they can bounce around, and how fun that would be. And rotate like the earth. So here's bringing in some new vocabulary. Many of them don't know what rotate means. So we can slowly turn our bodies in a circle, just like the earth goes around. And then we've got shine like the sun, and another just like the star. This one's kind of interpretive, and I love to ask them because sometimes they come up with some great ideas. One wanted us to lay on the ground and move our arms and legs kind of like the sun, the rays of the sun. So that was pretty creative. We have fly like a rocket ship. So we like to count down from 3, 2, 1, and then blast off and jump in the air. And then fall like a meteoroid. And we talk about how I wonder what they would fall like, right? Are they going to fall fast or slow? And we can be different speeds and sizes of meteorites. And so this is just a great get them up and moving, learning some new words, trying out some new gross motor muscles that maybe we haven't tried before, like with leaping for sure. And kind of learning to control our body when we fall or when we rotate slowly. So these are great to bring in because you can work on some gross motor, you can get some wiggles out, and you can even learn some new words. So that is number 4. And then the last one we like to do is called Asteroids in Space. And so I tape some sticky contact paper. This just happened to be clear, and I take off the backing, and sticky side out I tape it to the wall. And so then they use different materials. I start with foil, and so they wad up some pieces of foil and throw it at the sticky wall and seeing if they can get their little asteroid rocks to stick into space. And it's interesting to watch this one because it doesn't always work. If it's fairly large, it doesn't stick very well. If they throw it very gingerly, it doesn't always stick very well. And so then it leads us down a path to, okay, so this foil is maybe too heavy. What else could we try? And so we've tried wax paper. We've tried tissue paper, which obviously tissue paper sticks really well. And we've tried regular paper, and we've tried cardboard. And so it's a great activity to get those questions going. Well, how come they won't stick? They're flying through space, but we can't get them to stick. And then even bringing it from the vertical position down to the horizontal on the ground. And does that make it easier for us? And why? And where gravity comes into that, falling from space, things like that. So this one is great because it doesn't work exactly as they think it will. They assume that as soon as they throw it, it will stick. But there's other factors to that, right? How sticky is your paper? How heavy is your ball? And so then we're starting to have to ask questions, and we're starting to wonder, and we're starting to experiment. And so I absolutely love this for that reason. I generally try to do it in a small group, but they all just end up coming over because they're like, whoa, what are they doing over there? What are they talking about? And they're throwing things. I want to do that. So it usually turns into a whole group. But This one's great just for, and just you need to be ready for them to be like, it's not sticking. Why not, right? And how can we get them to stick? What can we do? What should we change? So all those great things. And this is a picture. It's actually on a door. It's kind of hard to tell, but I had taped it to one of our closet doors. And so that's when they're doing it there. But it's also great to talk about how gravity works and why was it hitting and falling down before, but if I put it on the ground, it will stay there and stick. That type of thing. So that is a fun one too. Also, if you have any great space activities that you absolutely love, I would love to hear them. Anything in your centers. We had in our sensory table, I went to the pet store and I grabbed some black aquarium rocks, and they had like a couple, bright neon and bright orange and stuff, which was perfect. And so we used that in our sensory tub with our little, I should have gotten you a picture. With our little space guys. I found these like little space men from like the tubes, those tube animals or whatever. And there's astronauts in there, and there's some rocket ships in there too. So we added that in there as well. And it's been working really great in the sensory tub. They love it. Let's see. Yep. And then we had stuff in the Science Center, and we have stuff in the Drama Center. And then, of course, I brought in some space books. But if you have anything you absolutely love, and you want to share it with us, I know we would all love to hear it. So drop a comment on this post and let us know something that you love. If you do a space theme, what works really well for you, maybe some art ideas that might be fun too. Drop them, because sharing is caring. And if you are looking for any of these printables, you can find these in the Play-Based Pre-K Space Unit. Again, there's things that you obviously can do all on your own without it, but if you want that extra support, or just want to print it out quick and be done, that's there for you as well. So drop us a comment. Let us know if you have any fun space activities as well, and I will see you next week. Bye, guys.